Threesome by Robin Sweet. Layla was a complete bitch, and Mick was a total bastard. And that's pretty much why Jemima was attracted to the pair of them. At the time, it seemed much simpler than that. To wit, they all wanted to fuck each other. But also, much more complicated. It was a beautiful conjunction of damaged souls searching for something or the other in all the tragically wrong places. But then threesomes are always tricksy that way. You know, so easy to under and overestimate. Jemima, our heroine, met Layla and Mick in a seedy nightclub under Vauxhall Bridge. Jemima wasn't into Mick at all, but she rather liked Layla. Layla had consumed large quantities of MDMA and didn't fancy anyone in the room except herself. But she thought herself was looking particularly ravishing tonight, so that was okay. And Mick fell in love with Jemima as soon as he realized she wasn't interested in him. Mick, who had a boyish charm, based entirely on persistence, repeatedly begged Jemima to spank his behind in a manner of a child in a supermarket, demanding an iced lolly. Jemima was coked up enough to forget that she wasn't into that kind of thing. And so, the spanking was purveyed, and gratitude was expressed in the smarmiest of ways. "Oh, mistress, may I kiss your feet?" And all the while Layla stood swaying in the corner, staring wild-eyed at her own reflection in the mirrors behind the bar. Mick soon spotted Jemima's repeated glances at Layla's narcissistic tableau. He realized that Layla, who was in fact his swinging buddy, represented a great opportunity. And like a child who knows he'll get that lolly if he tells Mummy that Daddy has already promised it to him, he formulated a plan. "Come back to mine, Jemima," Mick whined. "Please." Jemima glanced doubtfully at Mick's petulant face. It wasn't that she objected to sex with someone she barely knew and didn't even like, but it was that her powder-enhanced brain was still caressing the idea of Layla. "Layla's going to mine," Mick announced. "Okay," said Jemima instantly, "but only if Layla comes. If she doesn't come, then I'm going home. I mean it. And she can't just watch, she has to join in." Bargain struck. Mick went off to persuade the lovely Layla to accompany him to a taxi. That wasn't difficult, for Layla actually cherished a secret and perpetual love for Mick and wished to oversee proceedings. She was also too off her face to care where she was going unless she could see the reflection of herself doing it. As the three thundered along in a black cab, Mick revealed that he was a trained counselor who worked with disabled children. He watched as a familiar response bloomed on Jemima's face, an expression of new respect and secret hope he had seen on many female faces on similar nights in similar taxi rides. So neat was the maneuver that Layla even woke from her self-regarding swoon long enough to twitch an amused lip as Jemima snuggled closer to Mick and allowed him to put his sausagey fingers into her ears. They spilled out of the taxi and into Mick's front room, which had a musty wank smell with an overtone of pot potpourri. Jemima remembered ever after, and sat in mild awkwardness and expectation as Mick chopped out lines on the coffee table. And Jemima talked about her career ambitions. You know, the problem, she explained, was that her boss was both horribly controlling and threatened by the fact that she, Jemima, had gone to a better university, and so, oh, can we get naked now? Mick said as his head rose up from the final line. Oh, go on, please. I want to see her pussy. I think it's probably time, said Layla languidly, gesturing vaguely in Jemima's direction. Jemima glanced one to the other and stripped. Now you can watch any porno to get the basics of what happened next. Now, the only feature of note was the employment of a large black strap-on, which Jemima later realized probably shouldn't have been used on all three of them in quick succession. Mick took Viagra, but no one knew that but him. Jemima didn't come, but no one seemed to worry about that. Not even her. And Layla wept herself to sleep in the front room on a lovelorn come-down she so richly deserved. Meanwhile, Mick and Jemima, heart-to-hearted in a hot bath, called a dealer for more MDMA and agreed that neither of them could trust each other and therefore should never fall in love. And fell asleep, intertwined with Mick, still erect, and his hands cupped in the wanking position. Jemima woke at lunchtime the next day to find an unconscious Mick, still in the wank position, and still erect, and herself sore and newly shaven and hooked. Hooked on what? She would find it hard to say, but the cum and pot potpourri spell of Mick's flat seemed to have seeped into her very soul, very deep soul, and never to be cleansed. Layla was having a personal drama in the front room and refused to speak to Jemima, which was confusing. Wasn't Layla the reason this all happened in the first place? So, with come-downs from various different substances, Layla felt it would be politic for her to head home. And this was the last she ever saw of Mick and Layla, except in her memories and imaginations and suppositions, which featured heavily for the next 5 years. She even sighed as she was treated for chlamydia 6 months later, feeling that this might be the last precious trace of the pair leaving her system. Online, both Nick and Layla kept detailed blogs about their sex lives, which Jemima now felt compelled to check several times a day. Shortly after the threesome, Mick and Layla's blogs were combined as one. And the pair announced that, after much misunderstanding, that they had found their soulmates in each other. Much public planning for a romantic holiday on a Greek island ensued. On their return, strangely enough, all the entries from the previous month were deleted. The blogs unlinked, and neither ever made mention of the other again. All that remains to say is that despite this seemingly tragic ending, all three parties found themselves deeply satisfied by their encounter. That's because the real buzz of a threesome, whatever French philosophers might write about delicate love triangles, and whatever men's magazines may proclaim about two for the price of one, is drama. And only those who are turned on by drama make a habit of them. And that is the moral of the story. Also, always use condoms, even on inanimate objects.